Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manamistam. Sthapitam Budale Swayam Rupa Kadamyam Dadati Swapadandikam. Vandeham Guru Shri Tudakam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha. Shri Rupam Sagar Jatam Sagana Raghunatam Mitam Tam Sajivam. Sahadetam Sahadutam Parajana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva. Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sarvana Haridam Shri Vishakavitam Sha. He Krishna Karna Siddho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopecha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namo Dapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prashabhanu Pranamami Haripariye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevicha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivajadi Gaura Bhaktavranda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Welcome to this Bhagavad Gita discussion. If you see in our previous discussions, we have completed up to second chapter, text 61. Sense control is possible only by devotion to Krishna. That is where we stop. Today, we will be majorly focusing on 62, 63, and probably we start the next part, which is 64. Which is how Astita Pragna walks within a material world. We will look into that section as well. Okay, so let us go to the shloka number 2.62. So 2.62 is Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsa Sangas Tesu Pajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kama Kamat Krodha Vijayate. So while contemplating the objects of senses, a person develops attachment for them, and for such attachment, lust develops, and from lust, anger arises. Actually, we need to read both 62 and 63 together. Now, 2.63 is Krodhat Bhavati Sammoha, Sammohat Smriti Vibramaha, Smriti Brahmashat Buddhi Nasha Pranasyati. Let's go to the presentation. I have just made a slide very specific on this. Yeah. So, dhyayato means contemplation, and then sandhyayato vishayan pumsa, while contemplating the objects of dhyayato vishayan pumsa. A person develops attachment for them. So, sangas te supajayate. So, there is an attraction. And then sangat sanjayate kamat. From attraction, there is kama. Any obstacle to fulfill the desire, we want to overcome it. This is the irritation state. So this is a state of irritation. Then it moves into krodha. Under the influence of anger, we fall away. In this stage, we are confused. Kamat krodha vijayate. So this is one set of law. So while contemplating the objects of senses, a person develops attachment for them. And from such attachment, lust develops. And from lust, anger arises. Unfulfilled lust results in anger. So that is what it means in the 2.62. When we see 2.63, Krodhat Bhavati Sammoha. So from anger, complete delusion arises. So delusion means Sammoha, confused. Don't know what to do, what should I do, what I should not do. So this is a confused situation. Smriti Brahma Sammoha Smriti Vibramaha. Smriti Brahmashat means oblivion, forgetfulness. So one doesn't know what I should do. So delusion is undecided state. So normally in this situation, ideally what like in this case, Arjuna turned towards Krishna and he's asking Karpanya dosha upotsava prichami tvam dharma sammoda cheta. Yat shreya shainishitam bruhitanni shishyaste aham shadimam tvam prapanna. We should turn to spiritual master. Arjuna is surrendering. So intelligence is when we do not know what to do, we should know what to do. So that is surrender to authority, surrender to scriptures. But in this stage, If one is not able to turn towards scripture, we actually become stupid. And this is stupefaction, buddhi nasha. Stupefaction is buddhi nasha. And then comes buddhina, smriti brahmashat buddhinasho. Buddhinasha pranasyati. So when one is not intelligent enough, he falls away. When one becomes stupid, he moves away from the path of devotional service. So, if we do not know about this flow of things, we will fall disastrously out of the path of devotional service. So, while contemplating the objects of senses, a person develops attachment for them, and from such attachment, lust develops. Lust results in anger, and from anger, delusion arises. From delusion, there is bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost. When intelligence is lost, one falls down into material world. So, when the lust is unfulfilled, it leads to anger. So if there is a love triangle, there are two boys loving the same girl. The two boys may fight with one another and kill each other also. So if the boy says, if boy loves a girl and girl says no, then also the boy may kill the girl. So this killing in either case is due to anger that arises due to lust. And when the lust is frustrated, it explodes into anger. So the attraction between man and women is a lust. When there is a hindrance to that lust, it results in anger. Krishna here is talking about much further. He talks about how soul falls away from the track of devotional service. So that is this 8 stages. He is not only stopping at Krodha, he is going to further stages up to destruction. So this sequence is falling from the spiritual consciousness. So a person is at a level of devotee, but he is getting attracted by the sense objects and he starts contemplating. And then he is, because of this attraction, there is a lust. And that way, a devotee may fall away from the process of devotional service. So, when we fall away, what is the remedy? The process described here is a process of fall. There is also a process to check our fall. This means that the process of fall away is stoppable and checkable. It is not irreversible, it is reversible. We can stop it and reverse it. The entire idea that we are in the material world and we are now getting exposed to Srila Prabhupada's books itself is a proof that we have already fallen away from the path of devotional service. That is why we are in this material world, and now we are in the now we are in the devotional way reading Prabhupada's books. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, Prabhuji, it is there, visible.
That is the presentation of 2.62 and 2.63, right? You are able to
Yes,
see that,
Prabhuji,
right?
the presentation slide is there. Yes.
Okay. Because I'm not able to see anything. I'm just seeing a blank screen, so I had a doubt. Okay, fine. So, we can stop it and we can reverse it. So it is like we are in this material world, which is by itself a sinful thing, which itself says that we have moved away from our constitutional position of being servitor of Krishna, and we have come to this material world. And now we are taking to the process of devotional service. This devotional service is now bringing us back to the our constitutional position, or at least making us remember that we are not part of this material world, we need to go back home, back to God. So, so if you see there is something called as avalanche effect. This contemplation to destruction can be related with avalanche. When we have a small ball of snow slopes of rolling over slopes of mountain. When the ball is very, very small, like a pebble, we can just kick it and kill it. But when it moves down the slope, it picks up mass and it slowly becomes very big. And the same ball which we could have broken by a kick is big enough to kick us out of its way. So the same principle applies here to the negative thoughts. When a desire arises, if we choose not to contemplate on it, then it ends there. However, once we start contemplating, our imagination gets triggered. It is important to note that when Lord Krishna speaks about contemplating in Bhagavad Gita, he is emphasizing about Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsa. So Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsa means we are not simply seeing or observing. Seeing means drishto, observing means drishto, seeing means pashyato. So we are not just seeing or tasting, we are actually getting triggered into a world of imagination. So we cannot avoid seeing sense objects in the world as we walk in in this world. We cannot remain our eyes closed or blindfold. Problem lies not in just seeing the sense objects, but what we contemplate after seeing them. So there is a lot of difference between seeing, tasting, hearing, and so on, and contemplation. Contemplation refers to when we see something, our imagination runs wild. If we see my table and start contemplating, we may think that I want this table to be like this. What is the color? Who has made this? This contemplation triggers different imagination and our past attachment. We must have eaten different food on a table, and hence we will remember some sinful food. And then that contemplation may ask us to engage in the engage in probably drinking alcohol, and probably we want to meet friends who want to indulge in sense enjoyment on the same table with us. So it is this imagination which will pull us down. So when Krishna says Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsa Sangaste Supajayate in Bhagavad Gita, he means that attachment is developed through our contemplation. This attachment can be new or it can arise from our previous attachments that are remaining dormant in our consciousness. When contemplation occurs, the attachment is automatically awakened. It can happen either way, but the important point is that we avoid the contemplation of sense objects. However, it does not mean that we suppress our imagination. Instead, we can spiritualize our imagination by thinking about beautiful darshan of Krishna, the services we can do for Krishna, studying the scriptures, chanting nicely, and sharing the Krishna's message powerfully. So we can, when we do a presentation for Krishna, we can bring our imagination and points, so that the person to whom this presentation is given can understand it faster. So contemplation, which is told here, is to engage our imagination to pander to our senses. But on the other hand, when we do imagination to cook very nice food for Krishna, design very good dress for Krishna, or design very nice a nice mats, nice place for sitting for Krishna, and so on. When we do this, then our imagination gets spiritualized. So it is not wrong to think about becoming a devotee, which involves in engaging activities which will serve Krishna. We can also imagine that after 1 year, I will be able to talk about Bhagavad Gita in a much nicer way. I can have better insight of Krishna. This imagination is very good because we are thinking ourselves in engaging activities to serve Krishna. At any stage in this contemplation to destruction, we can check ourselves. Even at the stage of attachment or anger, if we start feeling irritated because we cannot engage our senses in sense gratification due to certain rules and people or circumstances. So, what we should do, we should think instead of becoming angry at the obstacles, we can redirect our anger and energy toward our desires and our own minds and senses. We can question why we desired such things that are not going to make us happy. Indulgence in sense gratification leads to temporary pleasure, followed by guilt, emptiness, frustration, and disconnection from Krishna. It steals away our taste for Krishna consciousness and brings us down to the material platform and cuts us from the spiritual consciousness. Therefore, it is important to redirect our senses and anger from the obstacle to desire, from the obstacle to desire causing sense gratification. By doing so, we can protect our taste in Krishna consciousness and maintain a very good spiritual perspective. Bhakti Yoga ensures that one doesn't get overwhelmed by material desires and instead focuses on cultivating devotion to Krishna. Just like a material position and power are not enough, um, just a material position and power are not enough for anything in this world. We need the grace of Supreme Lord to not have material desires. Srila Prabhupada, in the purport, if you see the purport, just a moment. So Srila Prabhupada in the purport is mentioning the comparison of Lord Shiva and uh, and Haridas Thakur. So here the idea is that the example of Lord Shiva getting agitated by Mother Parvati, and whereas Haridas Thakur was remaining very stable in presence of prostitute, is a comparison, and we need to understand it very clearly. It may be surprising how Lord Shiva, who is Mahadeva, could be agitated, while Haridas Thakur, who was a Acharya, Vaishnava Acharya, a human being, was not agitated by from by the sense object. So we need to understand this very carefully. If you see in many other places, Srila Prabhupada quotes Lord Shiva as being Dhira. Dhira means a person who is very steady. When Mother Parvati tries to agitate him, he remained Dhira. Lord Shiva here is considered as a yogi. He is meditating on the Supreme Lord, and he was not disturbed because he was not disturbed. He was practicing Bhakti Yoga. The comparison made by Srila Prabhupada here is not about the personalities themselves, but it is rather the process they represent. There is no clarity that Lord Shiva was practicing Bhakti Yoga, whereas we know for sure that Haridas Thakur was involved in chanting the holy name of the Lord. So, in this particular context, Srila Prabhupada is discussing the glory of holy name and the process of chanting and Bhakti Yoga. And one is fixed in the process of chanting and Bhakti Yoga, it gives one a higher taste which enables them to resist all lower taste. The principle being conveyed is not allowing oneself to be overwhelmed by material desires, which is ensured by practicing Bhakti Yoga. So, the entire purpose of the topic, the discussion here is how we control senses and how we move towards param dristvani vartate, how we can move towards the higher goal. So that way, practicing bhakti yoga, chanting holy name is very, very important. The point of comparison is that although Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma are exalted personalities, respectable and worshipable deities, just material position and power are not enough to overcome the pull of temptation. One needs the protective grace of Supreme Lord, which is obtained by taking the shelter of process of devotional service. This example highlights the comparison of yoga, which is Lord Shiva practicing some yoga, and Haridas Thakur specifically practicing bhakti. According to Srila Prabhupada's purport, one who is not Krishna conscious, one who is not Krishna conscious, therefore, uh, however powerful he may be in controlling senses by artificial repression, is sure ultimately to fail. For the slightest thought of sense pleasure will agitate him to gratify senses. So, this is something which we need to understand. Srila Prabhupada in the purport emphasizes the point that one who is Krishna consciousness is not affected by material desires, whereas one who is not Krishna consciousness may be affected by material desires. When he says Krishna conscious, it also includes the process of bhakti, process of chanting the holy names of the Lord. So, so, so how a great devata like Lord Shiva cannot have his was no how a devata like Lord Shiva, he got his senses agitated. So that is what he is follow is a yogi. So, by chanting the holy name and following the bhakti yoga process, we get a higher taste and we'll be able to overcome the lower taste. So, Lord Shiva, being a yogi, particularly in this purport, is considered as a yogi. So, there is a possibility, or what we can understand is the taste that the yogi will get by any other process may not be equivalent to the taste which is got by bhakti yoga. So there is no certainty, therefore, there is a possibility of fall away. So Srila Prabhupada essentially compares the chanting of the holy name. So this, with the equivalent process followed by Lord Shiva. And therefore, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Iti Shodakshakam Namana, Kali Kalmashanashana, Nataro Paratro Bhaya, Sarva Vedeshu Dishite. After reading all Vedas, this is the conclusion. Only Hare Krishna Mahamantra can save us from the greatest danger. Okay, so now, now we'll go to the 2.63. So there is a verse um, from Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Prapachikataya buddhaya ari sambandhu vastuna mumukshibi parityago vairagyam falgu katayate. So one who rejects things without knowledge of its relation to Krishna is falsely renouncing it, whereas one who knows how to utilize it, no, he is the real person. He know he is a real renouncer. Therefore, one who is so we should bring things in service of Krishna by understanding how we can utilize it for Krishna service rather than being afraid of it and not utilizing it. So if you see Srila Prabhupada utilized many of the devices, modern devices like aeroplanes, ships, printing press, microphones for service of Krishna. And his spiritual master, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, also utilized. There is, according to Vedas, one should not cross the ocean. But Srila Prabhupada crossed the ocean for the purpose of preaching the Krishna consciousness all over the world to fulfill the dream of Lord Chaitanya that every village in the world will have Harinam Sankirtan. Harinam will be chanted every nook and corner of the world. That is possible only when a devotee crosses the ocean and spreads the holy name. So instead of quoting Shastra for not doing work, we utilize the Shastra for spreading the holy name of the Lord. That is the better way of renouncing. That is the purport here. So the material world, we cannot close our eyes and walk. Therefore, whatever is favorable for devotional service, we must bring in service of Krishna and make our existence purified. This way, we can avoid contemplation on sense object. That is what Prabhupada actually emphasizes in the purport. So, if you see here, for example, so here now, on the other hand, a person in Krishna consciousness knows how to use everything, and therefore it does not become victim of material consciousness. For example, for an impersonalist, the Lord or absolute being, impersonal, cannot eat, whereas an impersonalist tries to avoid good eatables. Devotee knows that Krishna is a supreme enjoyer and that he eats all that is offered to him in devotion. So, after offering good eatables to the Lord, the devotee takes remnants called prasada. Thus, everything becomes spiritualized and there is no danger of downfall. The devotee takes prasadam in Krishna consciousness, whereas non-devotee rejects it as material. The impersonalist therefore cannot enjoy life due to his artificial renunciation. This artificial renunciation is what is mentioned here as falgu katayate. And for this reason, a slight agitation of mind pulls him down again into the pool of material existence. It is said that such a soul, even though rising up to the point of liberation, falls down again due to his not having support in devotional service. So, this entire purport brings the importance of bhakti yoga and the higher taste a particular person will get by following the bhakti yoga. So within this, the answer to the question, Kim Asita, how does he sit? How does he control the senses? Is answered. Now we are going to see this next upcoming shlokas. We will see Kim Vrajeta. So if we go to the presentation, so we have completed up to 63. Now we will be entering into 64, which is majorly focusing on Sthita Pragna's sense engagement. So, how he will handle while walking in a place where there are a lot of sense objects all around. Go back to the shloka. 2.64. Ragadvesha vimukataistu vishayan indriyascharan atma vasher videyatma prasada adhigachati. So, if you see 2.61, Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matpara. So yukta asita means to get connected to supreme personality of Godhead, matpara, to him by yoga. So this is also an answer for how a sthita prajna works by fixing the consciousness or getting related to Krishna. The other answer is raga dvesha vimukataistu vishayan indriyas charan. So there is no discrete one single answer for Kim Rajeta. So if you see the translation here, but a person free from all attachment and aversion and able to control his senses through regulative principles of freedom can obtain complete mercy of Krishna. So there is no discrete answer, but the point that we discussed in 2.61, which is Yukta Asita Madpara, follows here. So mercy of Lord is required, and there is some regulative principles that we need to follow. So fix the consciousness of Krishna, and while following rules and regulation, then we get mercy of Krishna. That is how the thought flows. So here, Charan is actually acting upon. A literal sense, it means moving around. The senses have a tendency to move towards the sense object. Vishayan Indriyascha. So, Indriya senses has tendency to move towards sense object. Atma Vashaya means the person tries to bring it and under his control. Vidayatma, by how? By following rules and regulations given in the scripture. For this control of senses, one has to control attachment and detachment, or attachment and aversion. A person free from all attachment and aversion and able to control his senses through regulative principles of freedom can obtain mercy of Krishna. So there are two things. When one does not control the senses by following rules as it is given in the scriptures and becoming free from aversion and attachment, there is no possibility of getting mercy of God. This is because one is not purified. So only when we are balanced in aversion and attachment, and we are able to control our senses, then only we become purified and we become happy. In that state, we will be able to get mercy of Krishna. So the hidden, or the purport here is that one can get very the higher taste by gradual elevation. So first point of elevation is giving up attachment and detachment. Then control the senses by regulative principles. This giving up of aversion and attachment is to move to something better. This we do through the suggestions given in Shastra. Shastra does not ban things unnecessarily. They ban because these things which are banned are harmful to us. When we say no meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication, that one helps us. So then chant Hare Krishna. So there are few things which we should avoid, few things which we should get attached to. When we do this, this is given in Shastra. By doing this, what happens? We become purified. We keep ourselves free from trouble. This giving up of attachment to wrong things ensures that we are not getting any impurities, no meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication. This helps us to remain pure, because only in purified state we can connect to Krishna by proper chanting. And when we do proper chanting, we get mercy of Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada has used the phrase, in this case, regulative principles of freedom. Usually, regulation, prevention, rules, discipline, etc., are generally conveying a negative connotation of restrictions or constraints or deprivation of freedom. This regulation actually is a protection. When mother embraces the naughty child, the child may think, why is mother restricting me? This embrace, uh, mother knows, is for the child's protection. Essentially, the point is what one wants. If one wants only wanton, godless sense enjoyment, pandering of the senses, go mad behind the sense objects, then scriptural rules and regulation may seem to us like a restriction. When we change our values and redirect our art for Krishna, then the restrictions serve as protection for us. It depends on our perception. So we need to change the perception. How we can change perception? It is not possible. It needs to be done slowly. That is why we should read Srila Prabhupada books every day. We should chant Hare Krishna Mantra in a very dedicated way. Attend Mangalarti. Get up early in the morning. Then follow four regulatory principles. When we do this, then our perception changes. When I want to be want to have immoral enjoyment, then the rules and regulation act as hindrance. However, when we purify ourselves and when we seek higher, richer inner happiness, then these rules aid us to go to the level of Atma, where we find happiness or bliss. The knowledge that there is such happiness in existence gets revealed only when we follow the rules of regulations, follow this regulatory principles. Then slowly this becomes our goal. We get more clarity that these sense enjoyments are intruders. It is not possible for us to get a view of it unless we follow it. So when we start following these rules, then we understand that these sense enjoyments are intruders which are preventing us from going towards Krishna, going towards higher bliss. We realize that these rules are acting as a protection for us. Thus, the perspective of our life has to change where we understand the higher happiness, where we do not know what is higher happiness and hence follow the rules and regulations. So only when we get a right perspective of happiness, higher happiness, we will follow the rules and regulations dedicatedly. Without right perspective, the rules can be misunderstood as indifference. That is why regular reading of Srila Prabhupada's books is important. And when we read books, we become happy. So we need to share this happiness with others. And this is possible only when we distribute these books, where one comes to know the real happiness. When we distribute these books, people try to understand the higher taste. They just understand the higher taste. Then they take up the process. And when they practice, they get a deeper perception of it. So this initial motivation of reading Prabhupada's books drags us closer to Krishna. So that is why we should distribute these Prabhupada's books. Thus, our freedom is dependent on what our goal is. If our goal is to travel to Krishna, then Raga Dvesha Vimukataistu Vishayan Indriyascharan Atma Vasayer Videyatma. Following the rules is for our protection. So, so this is very, very important. When our goal is to develop Krishna Prema, engage in devotional service, then we see the rules and regulations are protection for our execution of devotional service. This is our original constitutional position. And to do this, I need freedom, and this comes from following the rules and regulations. So the flip side is this rules and regulation. prevents gross desires, also prevents mind to wander off, and hence help us to focus on our devotional task properly. These rules and regulations protects us from thoughts, actions which drag us away from Krishna. Thus, these rules and regulations are like protection that the child gets from mother's embrace. Krishna is saying here, Prasadam Adhigachati. What is Prasadam here? Prasadam is usually food which is honored by Lord. This is the common meaning, but the other meaning is the mercy of Lord. The mercy here is the higher taste. This is talked about in 2.59. You go to Param Drishtwani Vartate. So this is experiencing higher taste. And 2.61 is Yukta Asita Matpara, fixing the consciousness on Krishna. So by following rules and regulations, one can fix the mind on Krishna very easily. So the reason is that we become purer by following the rules and regulations. Okay. So now we have got the mercy of Krishna. So what happens when we get mercy of Krishna? So that is the next shloka. Prasade sarva dukkana hanir asyopajayate prasanna chetasu yashu buddhi parya vachishtate. So for one, the satisfied in Krishna consciousness, the threefold miseries of material existence exist no longer. In such satisfied consciousness, one's intelligence is soon well established. Actually, the explanation for this shloka is longer. So I will stop here and open for any questions. Hare Krishna. Any questions, please?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yes, there is something I would like to ask, but it is not directly related with the topic of today. Is that all right still?
Yeah, yeah, please ask, Prabhu.
So I have this impression that Guru Maharaj he has a standing or a view that that these interfaith discussions, dialogues, that they are not so much worthwhile. So if you have some understanding, some more detailed knowledge why that is, I would appreciate to hear. And moreover, uh, if we come across people who are practicing different faiths, should we rather encourage them to go deeper in the studies of their own scripture, or should we always simply maintain the superiority of Bhagavad Gita and the other Vedic literatures?
Yeah. So, first of all, no religion is practicing love of God. So that one we need to put. Um, I actually, if you see the lectures of His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Maharaj, he has mentioned in many places people are ignorant. Uh, they follow it with more like a feeling. Even if you try to convince them, they will not pick up. They are not intelligent enough. So it is not possible for us to change their behavior overnight. It is not possible. So for them, the easiest way is to give them prasad. That is one, and read Prabhupada's book in a very positive sense. So you can say that there are good discussions. So if you happen to speak with people from Islamic background, we should say that we also believe in one God. We don't have multiple God philosophy. We also have one God philosophy, and then ask them to take our books. If there are people who are from Christianity background, we can tell that Prabhupada has spoken about Christ in his books. So they will have a better understanding of Christ if they read Prabhupada's books. So that is the way. Buddhist is a complete bogus philosophy. But we not tell them that. Then their interest on Krishna will completely go away. So our idea is that nobody should leave Krishna consciousness because we did not handle things properly. So we should hand over Prabhupada's book, and then Prabhupada will do this conversion activity. So that is how we should take, um, uh, especially the people who are not very much interested in Krishna consciousness or they have a different views. So we need to ensure that they have the books of Prabhupada intrigues them and they start reading so that at least if not in this life, at least in next life, they may get chance to become good Krishna, Krishna conscious devotees. That should be our views. So if you see Bhakti Vikas Maharaj as in one of his explanations to a person in one of his lectures, uh, Maharaj was trying to explain soul and body with the analogy of a car. But this person suddenly has turned from the question and asked, "You are all saints. Why are you using cars?" So there are people who are not even intelligent enough to pick the sense of the argument, and they argue for sake of it. For such people, we have to just give prasadam, Prabhu. So, so my thinking is, at least understanding from Guru Maharaj's lectures is that nobody should leave Krishna consciousness on our account because we did not handle it right. So we should intrigue them so that they will take Prabhupada's book and start reading it. And if they are very sinful and that they have a wrong attitude, give them prasada. And maybe you should give them Harinam, chant one time Harinam in their presence so that the sinful tendency goes off. So this is general strategy I follow, Prabhu. Follows.
Very good, Prabhuji. So just to make it all clear, would it be in our beginner, very neophyte stage, would it be more appropriate to try even to avoid all kinds of theological, philosophical discussions with personalities who are practicing other faiths, and
Yeah,
simply
so
have these
people who,
discussions among devotees?
yeah, so they can be part of lectures. They can come regularly to the class, listen, ask them to take small books like Life Comes from Life, Beyond Birth and Death. Like that, there are many small books of Science of Self-Realization. These are some nice books. We can give these books to them, and they can attend lectures. They can come attend Mangalarti, take prasadam, be in association of devotees. So it is these. There are five things. One is sadhu sangha, Bhagavad Shravan, then Bhagavad Shravan and Ari Kirtan, then Madravas, Sri Murti Seva. So I think first three are very, very important for us. Sri Murti Seva, Madravas may not be possible, but we can invite the person to stay with the devotees during weekends. So we need not have to talk lecture every time. When there is a regular lecture happening, he may ask question, and then he may slowly develop a relationship with some devotee, and then the devotee can explain him further. So it's a very, very slow, planned activity, Prabhu. It cannot be, in general, there is no, it could be case to case different. But overall, what we should do is we should give time and it should be a slow process. Let them ask question, let them understand, be with and be in the environment, and then slowly they can ask question and so Prasadam, association, Harinam, these are the first few things which should clear off their sinful tendency and sins. Then they can ask. They should also get the intelligence to ask questions, right? If they don't know there is soul, body, three modes of nature, all this they don't know. Shirodakasha Vishnu, Garbhodakasha Vishnu, they all don't know many of the terms. So they need to be in this association to even ask question. So maybe if they are intelligent enough, they will know I'm suffering. These people are very happy. At least that basic intelligence is there. Then I think the people can ask further questions. But to get to that level, if they take time, then we should not. We should give them time. Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Quite convincing. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I have been listening to some good lectures on Vishnu Sahasranam. Um, of late, we have not touched Lord's names from Vishnu Sahasranam and Bhagavad Gita because we are into the intricacies of soul, Siddha Prajna, and so on. I'm just thinking that once we um, complete the second chapter, we will do a recap of the names of the Lords and maybe pick a good description of some of the names like Rishikesha um, from the Vishnu Sahasranam and give a maybe 15 minutes talk on that name. It would be very nice because I found that the one we discussed in our previous discussions, it was not good enough. We have not done good justice. Maybe we should speak on each name 15 minutes. Let's see, Prabhu. And I also came across many of the names given in Vishnu Sahasranam are also applicable to jivas, and how it is applicable to jivas and how it is applicable to Lord. So there is a good explanation for this. I think we should discuss this. It is very much particular to the topics that we will be discussing in Bhagavad Gita. So it's a good insight I recently got from one of the lectures. So let's see how we can incorporate it here. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, if there are no questions, then thank you very much for joining this discussion. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhuvayavacha पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। ग्रंथराज भगवद गीता की जय, जगत गुरु शिला प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। बोल प्रेमा हरि हरि बोल। हरे कृष्णा।
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
हरे
Hare
कृष्णा।
Krishna, Buddhi. Thank you so much. The Lord Prabhu.
Thank you.
हरे
Thank
कृष्ण
you.
प्रभु जी दंडवत प्रणाम थैंक यू
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
हरे कृष्ण थैंक यू प्रभु दंडवत
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.